program are those of the host and guests and do not represent the opinion of KMBZ or Entercom Kansas City.
Your furnace blows cold air, and your air conditioner doesn't. The water seems to go everywhere you don't want it to, and your kitchen and bath haven't been remodeled since the 50s. Well, welcome to the Home Improvement Hour with Dick Ray, the Master Plumber. Kansas City has depended on Dick Ray and Shawnee Mission Plumbing, Heating and Cooling to solve heating, cooling, plumbing, and remodeling problems for over 50 years. All you need to do is call 576-7798. And now the Master Plumber with a degree in mechanical engineering is here to help. Here's the potentate of pipes, the Earl of Electricity, the Emperor of Air, the Imperial Poobah of Plumbing, the Grand Toileteer, the Master Plumber, Dick Ray.
And good morning. It is I, the Imperial Poobah of Plumbing. I don't know who thought that up, but anyway. Welcome to the Home Improvement Hour with Dick Ray, the Master Plumber. We're here every Sunday from 11 to noon. If you haven't heard us before, we talk about, well, it's just like the name of the show implies pretty much, the Home Improvement Hour. We talk about things around your house, things that you might want to incorporate either as a do-it-yourselfer. I know a lot of do-it-yourselfers listen to the show with the idea in mind of just getting tips from somebody like me that does this kind of stuff every day for a living. And whether you're a do-it-yourselfer or maybe just somebody that listens to get information about new stuff that's coming down the pike that you might want to incorporate in your house, which was built some time ago and doesn't have all that modern stuff in it maybe. Anyway, whatever your reason for listening, we hope that we can impart a little information to you each Sunday from 11 to noon. And anyway, we're going to start the show off here. I picked a topic that I think will be of general interest to those listening. I tell you what, it's Christmas time here, and I guess I'm screwy. There's something wrong with me. I like snow and I like cold weather, and I love Alaska, and it just doesn't seem right now. You know, it's too darn warm. It's been in the 70s. Here we are in December, and I'm the guy that's always praying for a white Christmas and snow and all that, and I guess we still got a chance of that. Christmas is still 3 weeks off, and the temperature's dropping next week. And so, although most people are probably groaning, I'm saying, all right, that's good. And, you know, last night, I got to do a neat deal last night with my girlfriend, Dawn. And this is the first time that I have ever been to the relatively new Kansas City Kaufman Center for the Performing Arts, and I was there last night with Dawn, and it's got to listen to the Kansas City Symphony do a Christmas program. And I'm not a great classical music lover, you know. I would have to admit that. I grew up in the, you know, my kind of music. I grew up in the 60s and 70s, and so I'm I don't know what you call me, a hippie from the 60s rock and roll and 60s and 70s music. But, you know, last night, one set of music that was performed by the Kansas City Symphony, I swear to God, Dawn, you probably didn't notice it, but it brought tears to my eyes. It really did. And it was the part where they did several pieces from Tchaikovsky's Nutcracker Suite. And the reason it made me feel that way is because when I was a young kid growing up in the 50s, and back then I was in grade school, and my dad gave me a set of records of the Nutcracker Suite, and it was on several records. I remember that, and I played it over and over and over back then when I was a kid, and I just have grown to love that music. And although I can listen to a lot of classical music, and it really doesn't do anything for me when I hear anything from the Nutcracker Suite, it brings back a lot of good memories. And I have grown to where I just love that music. And 5 years ago, that one of my customers, Lawyer Ward, who worked for years and years with KXDR Radio, which I think is no longer, it was an intercom station too. He was in my office looking at something on the showroom, and somehow we got to talking about classical music, and I mentioned my love for the Nutcracker Suite, and of course he was with KXDR Radio, and he got free tickets to all this stuff, the Nutcracker Ballet and everything. And he said, "Hey, Dick, would you like me to get you a couple of tickets to that?" And he did. He got me a couple of tickets to the Nutcracker Suite. This was 5 years ago, probably. And I attended that, and it was in the old Midland Theater, which I have never been in before. And if you've never been there, it's just magnificent. I love old stuff, and the Midland Theater is the best of the best as far as old architecture and the way it was decorated and everything. And anyway, I don't know. I've always liked the Nutcracker Suite and had a really nice time last night with a wonderful woman, and standing there after the show looking out through the windows facing south at downtown Kansas City. It really was special. I really had a good time. So anyway, you didn't tune into the show to listen to me talk about all this stuff, and you know that I'm not an expert on classical music, so anything I say about it couldn't be worth very much. But I really had a good time, and the Nutcracker Suite, it's part of Christmas, you know. And here I am. I've talked so much. It's time for the first break. Oh, golly. Well, I tell you what, why don't we go ahead and take a break right now, and then I will get into this topic that I think is going to be a lot of interest to a lot of people, especially people that live out in rural areas. We're going to take a break. I'm going to go ahead and open up the phone lines, too. If you'd like to join us here, as soon as I talk about this one subject, we're going to get right to the phones. And if you're a do-it-yourselfer and have questions, or if you've got some funny noise that your furnace is making and you're worried about it, or maybe you've got a drippy faucet, or really any question like that, the phone lines are open right now. This is the time when you're guaranteed to get an open line. All you got to do is pick up the phone right now. Give us a call, guaranteed to get an open line. Later in the show, it's usually difficult to get an open line because we have a limited number of lines coming in here. But anyway, you call right now, 576-7798. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back.
This is Dick Ray, the master plumber at Shawnee Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. As your furnace gets older, say 15 or 20 years old, the chances are much greater that it will develop a crack or a rust hole in the heat exchanger, which will allow fumes and carbon monoxide into your house, and that's dangerous. The good news is that it's relatively easy and inexpensive to test the heat exchanger of your old furnace for cracks and rust holes that would make it dangerous to operate. If your furnace is getting older and you're a little nervous about it, call me, and we'll test the heat exchanger to see if it's safe or not. It doesn't cost that much to get peace of mind. And if your old furnace is unsafe, we can give you prices on what it would cost to replace it with a new, more efficient model. Lennox furnaces installed by Dick Ray, the master plumber, the best that money can buy.
Today's retirees face multiple challenges, including historically low interest rates and less purchasing power. Have you considered what your biggest risk may be? Hi, this is Sean Akmus with the Investment Advisor Hour and Hadel Financial Advisors. Have you ever heard the saying, I have too much month at the end of my paycheck? Well, consider this. I have too much life at the end of my retirement portfolio. With the last decade taking a toll on retirement portfolios, many investors are on track to run out of money in retirement. And the scariest part, they don't know it. Do you know if your portfolio can sustain your current lifestyle, or will you run short in retirement? Folks, don't leave your retirement to chance. Join us every Sunday from 3 to 4 p.m. on the Investment Advisor Hour with Hadel Financial on KMBZ. Or call us today at 913-825-2626.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through Woodbury Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA SIPC, and registered investment advisor. Hadel Financial Advisors and Woodbury Financial Services, Inc. are not affiliated entities.
This is Dick Ray, the master plumber at Shawnee Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. When it comes time to spruce up your kitchen or bath, if you want your new kitchen or bath to end up looking just like all your neighbors, just go down to the closest home center and choose from the same fast-moving product that home centers just love to stock. stuff your neighbors just chose from. But if you want something different, something nicer, something not just like all your neighbors have, then you're going to have to come to a really nice, larger showroom like my Kohler registered showroom, where you can pick from a much wider variety of faucets and kitchen sinks and toilets and whirlpools and stuff like that. Really nice stuff, not just like all your neighbors have. Kohler fixtures and faucets installed by Dick Ray, the master plumber, the best that money can buy.
This is KMBZ.
And we're back. And off to a slow start today. I got sidetracked there talking about the Kansas City Symphony, but hey, it's Christmas. That's okay. You're listening to the Home Improvement Hour with Dick Ray, the Master Plumber. We've got a couple open lines here if you'd like to join us. Our number, 576-7798. Yeah, you know, sometimes I think that a lot of things that I work on in my day-to-day business are the more unusual things that a lot of my competitors maybe don't want to deal with, things that are maybe less mainstream or that require special skills or knowledge that my competitors just don't want to take the time to learn about and understand, or maybe things that require expensive equipment that they just don't want to invest in. And I think that last thing is the case with underground piping repairs and replacement, like repairs or replacements of underground water lines or sewers or underground gas lines. To do that kind of work and to do it well, you need to have a backhoe and a dump truck and a trailer and electronic pipe locators and a sewer camera and a jackhammer and concrete cutting saws and a sewer laser and a lot more than that even. And buying that equipment is a major investment. It's one that I've made. I decided to make that investment years ago, but it's an investment which most repair plumbers, frankly, don't want to make. I think they say, hey, it's easier there's a lot of things we can do without all that extra complication. Anyway, I actually like doing that kind of work, and I always have. A lot of my competitors also don't understand or work or install water softeners or RO, water purification systems, or electronic air purification, or zoning systems for heating and cooling systems, or they don't like doing location of sewer odors or fixing tile shower leaks. A lot of them don't do sewer camera inspections or electronic pipe location, and a lot of other things as well. That seems like it's always been that way in my business. I do the stuff that nobody else wants to do. And I actually haven't always enjoyed the challenge of those kinds of jobs and have always done a lot of that specialty kind of work. Another area that that a lot of my competition doesn't like to get involved with is private sewage disposal systems. Now, that's a fancy way of saying people who live in the country, like me, who don't have a city sewer to connect to, so they have their own private sewage disposal system to dispose of the waste coming from their house. And to use more common terms, we're talking about people that have septic tanks and lateral fields, like me. A lot of people who have those kinds of systems don't really understand them much. They don't understand much about them or how they work or what maintenance you should do to them to keep them trouble-free, and that's what I'm going to talk about a little bit today. A lot of homeowners with these septic systems don't understand them and how they work, and they just kind of forget about them and do absolutely nothing to them unless a problem develops, and that is a big mistake. Proper care of a septic system, it's not at all expensive, but the damage done to a system that is ignored by the homeowner and which has had absolutely no maintenance done to it can be terribly expensive. And I'm talking about $10,000 plus in a lot of cases where no maintenance gets done. $10,000 to fix the damage done by lack of proper maintenance. You got to admit that just doesn't make sense. Well, let me explain. And first, let's talk about the system of someone who's not on a septic system, someone who lives in the city and is connected to a city sewer. Well, that person who lives in the city has a 4-inch diameter sewer pipe exiting their home underground, and that pipe takes all of the liquid and solid waste from the home and deposits it into the city sewer, which takes your waste along with your neighbors, and it takes it to a sewage treatment plant where the sewage is broken down and disposed of properly. And the liquid and water waste in your sewer pipe and in the city sewer, that liquid waste pushes the solid waste like toilet paper and BM and garbage from the garbage disposal. The liquid and the water and liquid waste pushes the solid waste along the pipe all the way to the sewage treatment plant where it's dealt with. Well, if you live in the country, things are a little different. The liquid in your sewer pipe still pushes the solids along out of the house until the sewer pipe enters the septic tank. Now, a septic tank is pretty big, maybe 1,500 gallons, maybe 2,000 gallons, but it's big, and it's watertight. Concrete a lot of the times, maybe plastic or fiberglass. Some old tanks are steel. Anyway, well, all of the waste enters the septic tank on one end of the tank, right near the top of the tank. And that's all the liquid and solid waste. Well, it doesn't take too many days, maybe 2 or 3 days, for a brand new septic tank to fill up completely with liquid and solid waste. And most of the solid waste sinks to the bottom of the tank, and it just sits there slowly decaying over time. But some of the solids float. And I'm sure you see them from time to time in your own toilet bowl, and we plumbers call those floaters. That's supposed to be a joke. Anyway, and the floaters need to be dealt with too. Anyway, at the opposite end of the tank from the inlet is the outlet of the tank, and it also is near the top of the tank, although it's about 4 inches lower than the inlet pipe. Well, the outlet pipe from the tank is put there to handle only liquid waste. Only liquid should exit the tank. We want all of the solids to stay right there in the tank itself and just sit there on the bottom of the tank, slowly decaying with time. Well, the liquid waste and water that exits the tank through the outlet pipe of the tank, without going into a lot of detail, goes into the lateral field where the water and liquids flow through a 4-inch diameter pipe, which has a lot of holes drilled in it, holes drilled every few inches. Well, the pipe in the lateral field is surrounded not by dirt, but by gravel. And here's what's happened. The liquid in the lateral pipe flows out of the holes in the pipe and into the gravel, where 3 things happen to the liquid waste. A lot of the liquid just soaks into the surrounding earth and is purified by the earth. Some of the liquid waste makes it gradually to the surface, where it's evaporated into the surrounding air, and then the remainder of the liquid waste is picked up by roots of the grass and plants growing in the dirt right above the lateral trench containing the pipe. And you can often tell right where a lateral pipe is, because the grass right up above the lateral pipe will be bright green from all the water and nutrients that it gets from the lateral field. So you look for the green grass, that's where the laterals are. So the solids in the sewage stay in the septic tank, and the liquid waste is handled by the lateral field and the lateral pipes. And one thing that you absolutely do not want to happen is for the solids in the tank to build up so much in the tank that they reach a level where they start flowing out of the tank with the liquid waste and flowing into the lateral field. Solids in the lateral field will plug the pores in the surrounding earth and make it so that the earth can no longer absorb liquid, and that is a time when you will start crying, because your lateral field can now no longer absorb liquid waste into the earth, and you probably will spend $10,000, give or take a little, to add a new lateral field to fix the problem. You do not want that to happen. You want to avoid that scenario and expense, and it's really easy to do just by having the solids pumped from your septic tank before they get too deep and start flowing out into the lateral field and causing problems. So anyway, how often should you pump the septic tank to keep the solids from getting too deep? Well, my advice is to get the tank pumped the first time after the septic system has been in place for 3 years or so. And don't just hire just anybody to pump the tank. Get somebody smart, like my buddy Mel Simmerman, who owns Honey Wagon. When Mel pumps your tank, he can tell you how deep the solids were in it. If the solids in the tank were really deep and almost to the point of flowing out into the lateral field, next time pump the tank sooner, maybe 2 years instead of 3. If, on the other hand, there were not a lot of solids in the tank, maybe wait 5 years before pumping the tank again. Anyway, pumping the tank is cheap compared to the cost of replacing a lateral field, and pumping the septic tank on a regular basis is the single one most important thing to do to keep from having expensive repairs to your septic tank. Do it. It's important. And by the way, Mel at Honeywagon, he hadn't compensated me in any way for recommending him today. I didn't even tell him I was going to recommend him. I just did. I recommend him because I know he's smart and he's good at what he does, and he's who I use when I need a tank pumped. And really, that's the only kind of person or company you're ever going to hear me recommend on this show. Now, I have a septic tank and lateral field at my own home, and I have a license in Miami County to install and repair these systems, which the average plumber doesn't have. I do a lot of repair type work on septic systems, and should mention that there are alternatives to this basic type of system I've been talking about, but they all work basically in the same way. And again, no matter what kind of system you have, the single most piece of maintenance is pump the tank. Get rid of the solids before they build up and start causing problems by exiting the tank. Well, anyway, that's about it. The phone lines are now open. If you have any questions about septic systems or septic tanks or how these systems work or maintaining them or alternative systems, give me a call. Or, of course, if you have questions about really anything else, call me. Or maybe you've got a question about something else mechanical in your home. Or maybe you're a do-it-yourselfer and you got a project that you're working on or getting ready to start and you'd like to have a little bit of help. I'll be glad to talk about that too. It's always easier when you're a do-it-yourselfer to talk to somebody that's done what you're getting ready to do, maybe for the first time. If you can talk to somebody else that does it every day for a living, they can save you a lot of time, make the job go easier, and make the job be a better job. Give you tips. Anyway, keep in mind that I do the things that we talk about on this show every day for a living, including fixing and replacing broken air conditioners and furnaces and heat pumps and plumbing repairs, as well as kitchen and bath remodeling. So if I can pass on any information to you that'll help, I'm more than glad to do it. We still got one open line, so if you phone right now, you'll get it. And our number is 576-7798, so give me a call, 576-7798. You're listening to the Home Improvement Hour with Dick Ray, the Master Plumber. One other thing that I don't know. I talk about this. There's one of my radio ads mentions this, and I haven't actually mentioned it myself other than in that ad. But this is the time of year that it's a good idea to get your furnace checked. If you check your furnace, if nothing else, you want to find out whether the thing is safe. As the furnace gets older and older, the likelihood that it's going to start putting carbon monoxide and fumes into your house becomes greater. We checked 2 furnaces, this was a month ago, and both of the furnaces were pretty old. They were more than 20 years old, 25, I think. And anyway, both of them had bad heat exchangers, meant we had to shut them down, and because they weren't safe, they were putting fumes into the house. And anyway, we ended up replacing them both, and that's one way to do it. Just wait till the darn things quit. But I always look at this, and this man had lived in the house for years and years, was going to live there much longer, and I kept thinking, would have been better if he'd have replaced the furnaces some time ago. For one thing, his LP gas bills would have been about a third less over the last, 5 or 10 years, or whenever he decided to put in a better furnace. Anyway, we're going to break for the news. You're listening to the Home Improvement Hour with Dick Ray, the Master Plumber. So hang in there. We'll be right back to the phones after the news.
This is Kansas City's news, traffic, and weather station. This is KMBZ, Kansas City.
11:30 in Kansas City from the KMBZ newsroom. I'm Rob Ladd. State police in western Pennsylvania say a 7-year-old boy had been buckling himself into a safety seat yesterday when his father's gun accidentally went off outside of a gun store. Police say the father had been trying to sell the gun and didn't realize a bullet was still in the chamber. The shot hit the boy in the chest, killing him. Newark Mayor Cory Booker is considering running for New Jersey governor next year against current Governor Chris Christie. The Democrat tells CBS's Face the Nation that he'll have to decide in the next couple of weeks out of respect for his party and the other Democratic candidates who'd like to take on outspoken Christie. Booker says he's also thinking about running for the U.S. Senate. Now your forecast from staff meteorologist Sally Russell.
A big-time cool-down is expected by the beginning of next week. Some sunshine through the clouds today, our highs in the lower to middle 50s. Now tonight we will see an increased chance for some wet weather with this front pushing on through. Otherwise, clouds in low 40s. Most of the rainfall will be done with by just before noon, and then we'll see clouds and falling temperatures for the afternoon. In fact, those temperatures will be dropping into the middle 30s by the afternoon. Sunshine only near freezing Monday. I'm staff meteorologist Sally Russell, KMBZ Weather.
Right now, 41 degrees at KCI, 41 in Olathe, 42 at your official weather station. I'm Rob Ladd. Stay connected with 98.1 FM KMBZ and KMBZ.com.
This is Dick Ray, the Master Plumber. If you're like a lot of people and just hate your toilet because it gets plugged so frequently, and if you're at the point where you're saying, I'm sick of this, I want the best flushing toilet known to mankind, then you want a Gerber Ultra Flush toilet. It still only uses 1.6 gallons of water per flush, but that 1.6 gallons of water is stored in the toilet tank under pressure, and when it's released, you've never seen a flush that powerful in anybody's home. It's really dramatic. Often people will put things down toilets and public restrooms that they wouldn't in their own homes, like rags or handy wipes or tampons. Or maybe you have a family member with large, firm stools. Whatever the reason, if you really want the most powerful flush available, you want a Gerber Ultra Flush toilet. You can see the flush in the live models in my showroom, too. Gerber Power Flush toilets installed by Dick Ray, the Master Plumber, the best that money can buy.
This is 98.1 FM, KMBZ.
This is Dick Ray, the Master Plumber at Shawnee Mission Plumbing and Cooling. I've replaced lots of tile showers that are just a disaster. At best, tile showers are high maintenance, hard to clean with periodic grouting required every few years, and a lot of times they just get to looking like hell with tile falling off the walls and scum build up in the grout joints and maybe water leaking through the ceiling of the room below the shower. Well, there's a lot better alternative than tile for showers, and it's called Swanstone. Swanstone is a solid surface material, one large smooth sheet of material for each wall with a satiny finish that keeps its good looks forever. Easy to clean, no grout joints to scrub, and it's just gorgeous. If you have an old nasty-looking tile shower and you're just sick of it, come visit my showroom and look at the Swanstone showers I have on display. Swanstone showers, installed by Dick Ray, the Master Plumber, the best that money can buy.
This is KMBZ.
This is Dick Ray, the Master Plumber at Shawnee Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Low humidity in your home means dry, itchy skin. It also means a dry environment where bacteria and viruses thrive. It means you get sick more often. For over 40 years, I've sold only April Air humidifiers because they're the best, always have been. But now they're even better. A few years ago, April Air invented the first truly automatic humidity control system. With its outdoor temperature sensor and microprocessor, April Air makes all of the adjustments automatically on a daily basis that you used to have to make manually. The result is you can have the right humidity levels that you need for health and comfort without the daily manual adjustments you used to have to make and without over-humidifying your home. April Air, installed by Dick Ray, the Master Plumber, the best that money can buy.
This is KMBZ. Opinions expressed on the following paid commercial program are those of the host and guests and do not represent the opinion of KMBZ or Entercom, Kansas City.
And we're back. You're listening to the Home Improvement Hour with Dick Ray, the Master Plumber. If you haven't heard us before, we're here every Sunday from 11 to noon, and we try and make you a little bit smarter with each show about things going on around your house. Give you new ideas maybe for improvements you might make in an older house that was built before we had all the modern stuff that we've got today. Anyway, we're going to get to the phones here and see if we can help some folks out, and we will start with Rich, who's in Independence. Hi, Rich. What can I do for you?
Well, I tell you what, I was calling about a shower. I replaced my shower head. You know, it has the hose that you hook up, has the variable speed of different water patterns, I'll say, water flow.
Mm-hmm.
And since I put that darn new one on, I don't seem to have as much pressure as I did before.
Yeah. You liked your old system better than the new one. You know, I hear that a lot, and I can tell you what the problem is. And if you want to complain to somebody, call your congressman. This is another one of those federal interventions or federal laws or whatever. The federal government passes laws so to make us all, I don't know, to make us better persons or to protect us from our own stupid ways or whatever you want to call it. But anyway, the federal government, and, you know, I mean, I guess in Kansas and Missouri, we got plenty of water, and we don't even know what they're talking about. But I guess there's a lot of parts of the country where water shortages are a big deal. And so, anyway, the federal government passed a law years ago that mandated that when a faucet manufacturer ships a shower head from the factory, it's got to have a flow restrictor in it that restricts the flow to about 2.5 gallons per minute. Now, the problem isn't water pressure. Your water pressure is still what it was, before you change the shower head. The problem is now there's a flow restrictor in there that greatly restricts the flow of water to the shower head. The good news is, and I hope I don't go to prison for giving out this information over the air here. I go to plumber's prison, that'd be bad. But
well, maybe
anyway,
I'll call you back when you're off the air.
No, that's okay. I'm just kidding. There is a flow restrictor in a lot of shower heads. I mean, every shower head has a flow restrictor in it. In a lot of them, it's a removable thing. And so if you take the shower head and unscrew it from the shower arm, easy thing, just takes a couple of minutes, and look in the inlet of the shower head, you may see a little piece of metal or rubber about the size of a diamond. It's got an itty-bitty little hole in the middle of it, and that's what all the water's got to flow through to get to the shower head. And if you remove that flow restrictor, then the shower head's going to be capable of putting out more water. Now, not all shower heads are that way, but it's at least worth a try.
Well, I looked at the top end of the hose, the end of the hose that screws onto the outlet pipe that comes into the shower. Mm-hmm. And there's washers in there. And they're just regular. It's a Delta Supreme, or anyway, it's a Delta brand.
Yeah.
And because that's what I was thinking, there's got to be.
It's not going to be in the end of the hose. It's going to be in the hand spray or the shower head itself. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I will take the head off of there because I took it off the end of the other end of the hose, and it's crimped. It has a screen that it's crimped on the hose, so I can't do anything to that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, some of them is difficult to do anything about, but a lot of them have that removable flow restrictor, and it's going to always be right. It's always going to be right in the shower head or the hand-held spray head.
Okay, well, maybe I'll just get a screwdriver and poke a hole in that darn thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll check it out. Thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate your show.
Well, thank you. Appreciate the call, Rich. All righty. That opens the line, 576-7798. You're listening to the Home Improvement Hour with Dick Ray, the Master Plumber. And let's see here. Let's talk to Mike in Belton. Hi, Mike. What can I do for you?
Hey, how you doing, sir? I appreciate your show.
Thank you.
Hey, basically, I got another shower question. I got a one-owner home that was built in 73. I had a faucet that was actually leaking while the shower was on. It was dripping at the handle.
Uh-huh.
So I talked to some, neighbors, and they're like, well, you probably just need stems. You can get them at Home Depot. And pulled out the stems, went to home, went to the hardware store. Took a while to match them up because it was older. Came back, put them in, worked great. I mean, you could adjust the pressure.
Yeah.
Everything was fabulous. 6
Mhm.
months later, the cold water side, when you're about 25% on, there's just a millimeter of just an adjustment that when you get to a certain point, the pipes vibrate in the wall, and then it goes like the water shuts completely off.
Oh, really?
And it's right in the middle of your what would it be, 380-degree turn. It's probably right at 90 degrees. It's not even all the way off yet.
Yeah.
But it shuts the water off.
Okay, and then if you open a little bit further, the problem goes away.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. It's just a little weird point right there. But it's, of course, the point of where you take your shower, and that's going to be the one you use the most.
Yeah. It should be fairly easy to fix. It's going to be one of two things. Either that new stem you put in has got a bib washer on the end of the stem that has loosened up. If it's an old-fashioned stem that's got a screw that holds a washer on the end of the stem, that chattering noise can be caused by the screw loosening up and allowing the bib washer at certain flow rates to flutter back and forth in there. And boy, it makes a heck of a racket, almost like a machine gun. And if that's what it is, all you have to do is tighten the screw up, although it'll happen again. So what you do before you tighten the screw up is you remove the screw, and then you take a pair of pliers and mash the threads just a little bit, screw the screw back in, and now the screw is going to be an interference fit, and it won't screw itself back out and cause the problem to recur. The other thing that can cause that problem, other than the bib screw on the end of the stem, is the washer that is on the end of the shutoff valve right underneath the right under the faucet down in the cabinet. There's a washer in there that can cause the same thing. And if that's the case, there you would just replace a valve. Those valves aren't very expensive, and you can buy them at the hardware store.
Yeah, see, but it's in the wall, though. There's no, it's a shower.
It's a shower? Oh, okay. Okay. Well, then it's okay. Then forget about the chrome-plated valves. It's got to be in that stem. It's going to be on the stem for sure.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because I was freaking out because I didn't want to have to break out the wall.
No, you won't have to. Yeah, I think you take that stem out and tighten the screw on the end of the stem to tighten the washer down, and that'll fix it. And,
I really appreciate it, sir, very, very much.
Yeah, you'll be a hero at your house because you fixed the problem, and you didn't have to call somebody like me to come out who's going to charge you a service call, and you can tell your spouse, boy, it was tough, honey, but I got it done finally, and she'll appreciate that. You don't have to be absolutely truthful in situations like that, Sometimes it's best not to.
Two birds with one stone, right?
Yeah, really, make points and save money for Christmas. Thanks for the call. I appreciate it, Mike.
Hey, I do too, sir. Thank you.
All righty. Oh, boy. Hey, we got open lines here. There was somebody calling a minute ago, and Robert wasn't able to answer the phone. If that was you, give us a holler back. He is back available again. And our number, if you'd like to join us, got a couple of open lines here, 576-7798. And let's see here. We're going to talk to Kevin next. Hi, Kevin. What can I do for you?
Hello. Can you hear me?
I certainly can.
I live in an older neighborhood in Kansas City, Kansas, and all of these houses on this street have septic tanks.
Yeah.
And I've been living in this house for about 3 years. And when they sold the house to me, they said that they didn't know for sure, but they thought that it had been pumped out. So I didn't worry about it. And I don't have any problems with it. But my concern is that you said 2 to 3 years, and it's about time to pump it.
Yeah.
And the solids can get off in the lateral line. I'm concerned about that.
Yeah.
So I want to do preventative maintenance.
Uh-huh.
However, I don't know where the septic tank is. If you guys came out, could you find it, or would it be a...
Yeah, absolutely. Using one or two different techniques, a lot of times you can tell just by going down into the basement and looking at the lay of the plumbing in the basement, you can get a pretty good idea where the main sewer line exits the house. A lot of times you can see that main sewer line exiting the house. And with that information and then looking at the lay of the land outside, a lot of times you can get a pretty good feel for where the septic tank ought to be. And if that's the case, then what we do, we've got a probe with a hard steel tip on the end of it. It's a tapered probe, and the tip's a little bit bigger than the rod, so it goes through the ground easier. And a septic tank generally isn't very deep. A septic tank, generally, the concrete lead's going to be, 12, 18 inches deep. And so with that probe and having a pretty good idea of where it might be, a lot of times what we can do is go out there and probe the ground and then find the concrete lead of the septic tank using the probe, and then, there we are. Then you know where it is to get the tank pumped out. Now, that doesn't always work. Sometimes the tank, because of the lay of the land or other circumstances, is deeper. I remember a house up in North Kansas City. It was still on a septic system, and we couldn't find the septic tank on it, and we ended up... Well, anyway, we did find the sewer and the septic tank using a sewer camera, which has a radio transmitter attached to it. And so, worst possible case, we can always find the tank by sending a sewer camera into the sewer with a radio transmitter pipe locator on it, and with the sewer camera, we can see when we drop into the septic tank, and at that point, we stop pushing the camera in any further. We go outside with a receiver, which picks up the signal from the transmitter on the camera, and we can tell exactly where the inlet to the tank is, and then we know where to dig. Now, and usually, we go out there and dig by hand with a shovel, and it's, down 18 inches or so, and there's the tank lid, and everything's good.
Do they normally put it close to the house? Because I got a 600-foot elongated backyard that goes from my house way back.
Yeah, ordinarily, it's right next to the house. Ordinarily, you come out and the septic tank is, within, sometimes 10 feet from the house, sometimes 30 feet, but it's usually somewhere in that general vicinity. Now, that isn't always the case. I looked at one. I located one with my locator a month ago down in Paola, and this was a sewer line that drained a basement, and so just due to the lay of the land and to have enough fall between the house and the septic tank was away from the house. It was 150 feet from the house, but that's really unusual. Usually they're real close to the house.
Is there an extra charge when if they have to look for it and the owner doesn't know where it's at?
Oh, the guys that pump septic tanks for a living every day, like Mel, if you have him come over to his house, chances are he's going to be able to probe and find the septic tank with his probe and dig it up, and no big deal. And I don't know how they charge. I suppose if they get a bunch of time involved in digging it up or something, there could be an extra charge for that. Every now and then he'll get one that he can't find, and then he'll say, well, hey, you're going to have to call, Dick Ray or somebody with a sewer camera and a locator to locate the darn thing.
Okay. Well, thank you, sir.
You betcha. Appreciate the call.
All right.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I just can't stress how important it is to get your tank pumped. And I don't pump tanks, so I'm not saying this because I want you to hire me to pump your tanks. I don't even do that, I'm just saying every time I end up doing a septic repair for somebody and realize that it's because they just didn't get their tank pumped every few years, it always makes me, I'm glad to get the work, don't get me wrong, but I always say, gosh, why didn't they just pump the tank every few years? Not then they wouldn't have to be paying me thousands of dollars. Anyway, oh, golly here. Looks like the lines are all lit. That's a good thing. I know it's often difficult to get an open line during this show, and that's why I give out the invitation that I'm getting ready to give out again. And what I'm inviting you to do, and this is a sincere invitation for you to call me, not just during this show, but anytime during the week. need a little free advice on some project you're working on, you don't need to feel like you're imposing on me. It doesn't have to be an emergency. You can be working on a drippy faucet. You can call me after 5 o'clock at night. You can call me on Saturday. You can call me on Sunday. And, hey, if you weren't able to get an open phone line during this show, call me right after the show. And I don't mind. I'm serious about that. And in all honesty, a lot of the calls that I do get are from somebody that just wants to hire me to do some work for them. They either don't have the time or they don't want to mess around with it or give up their free time, and so they'll call me to do the work. And, of course, I like that because, after all, that's how I make my living. But I'm being completely sincere when I say that I absolutely don't mind you calling, even if all you want is a little free advice on some do-it-yourself project that you're working on yourself. And I'm very easy to get in touch with because my normal business phone rings straight to my cell phone after normal business hours. So really all you have to do is remember one number. Here it is, so you can jot it down for future reference. It's 913-888-0550. I'm very sincere in this offer. Do not ever hesitate to call me. You don't have to apologize when you get me. Give out a lot of free advice and information to a lot of people, and I do it willingly. If I didn't want to do this, I wouldn't tell you to call me. So once again, the number is 913-888-0550. With that, we're going to get back to the phone lines, and we will start with David in Overland Park. Hello, David. What can I do for you?
Good morning. Thanks for taking the call.
You bet.
I have a copper water line on one side of my house that feeds 2 bathrooms.
Mm-hmm.
In the 2 faucets it feeds, if water hasn't been on for a day, you turn it on, it has a very stale smell like it's been sitting. I don't have a problem anywhere else in the house, and I wasn't sure where to
And this
start.
is a lavatory faucet?
It is.
Wow.
In both bathrooms, yeah.
Boy, I mean, I've heard of that problem before, but it's usually after the faucet hasn't been used for a week or 2 weeks, because there's chlorine. You're in Overland Park, so you're on city water, right? Water
Yes,
One, and that water is going to be delivered to your house. It's got chlorine in it. Now, chlorine over a period of time, we're talking probably, days or weeks certainly, chlorine gradually dissipates out of the water, and when it does, then critters can start growing in the water, bacteria and things that would give it a stale taste and odor. But that takes some time, and just, a day or two, I don't know. I have a hard time thinking that that's it. One of my guys, Mike, went out on a job just Friday, I think it was, and customer said that at a lavatory they had a foul smell from the water that they got from that faucet. And anyway, what Mike found was, there was a foul smell there, but it was coming from a buildup of slime and sludge in the drain. And once he cleaned that out and sanitized it with Lysol or Clorox, that took care of that problem.
One other piece of information, I didn't have the problem until I installed new faucets in both bathrooms. They're lever style.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if I could have misinstalled them or the water sitting in there.
Oh, golly. Here's one thing that comes to mind. I had a guy working for me. I shouldn't admit this, but he screwed up when he was installing a water heater. This was years ago. New guy. And he put pipe dope on the female threads when he was installing a water heater. Pipe dope's supposed to go on the male threads only, on tapered pipe threads, so that when you screw it together, instead of the pipe dope getting squished into the fitting and into the water flow, it gets pushed to the outside of the thread, and only a thin coating is on the threads itself, and nothing is on the interior of the pipe. Well, he put it on the female thread, so when he screwed the male threads into the female, the pipe dope got inside of the pipe, and it made a smell. Since it was on the water heater, it made a smell on all the hot water faucets in the house. Now, I don't know if that's a possibility there, but pipe dope it's not a mildewy odor. It's kind of a chemical smell.
Yeah, this is mildewy. But I appreciate you thinking about it. I just thought I'd give it a shot because I hadn't encountered this before.
Okie doke. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Bye.
All righty. Let's see here. Let's talk to Jacob in Kansas City. Hi, Jacob. What can I do for you?
Hi. Hi, Dick. I've got a jacuzzi tub that's about 5 or 6 years old, and it's always operated fine. But it was turned off, and we didn't operate it for over a year. And when we got ready to turn it on, it just makes a humming sound, and nothing else happens.
Okay.
Did it lock up, or do they freeze up? Or something?
Not ordinarily. I mean, it could be that for something jammed the impeller. I don't know what in the world that would be. There's nothing in there except water. I would be more apt to think that maybe the motor has a centrifugal start switch, and that switch isn't making contacts, maybe oxidation on the contacts or buildup of, just black material from arcing. Maybe he's not letting the centrifugal start switch make contact. And
I didn't want to burn the motor out, so I just kept flipping it on, and it would just make that a low moaning sound, nothing major, but it never operated. But it was not used for over a year.
Here's what you can do. Take the access panel off, which there should be. That'll give you access to the area where the pump and the motor is. And on a lot of those systems, between the pump and the motor, there's a little coupling section that's accessible. If you can get pliers on that and just physically get a pair of pliers on it and turn the shaft on the motor, and just turn it just a slight amount, and that way if something was stuck in there, then maybe it'll take right off. If that doesn't take care of it, then it's probably a problem in the centrifugal switch in the motor, and the motor's probably going to have to come out and come apart, maybe a new motor.
Okay.
Okie doke.
Well, I do appreciate this.
You're welcome.
Thank
Good
you,
call.
Dick.
Bye-bye. Yeah, that's kind of unusual because, I'll tell you what, there are jacuzzi, or not just jacuzzi brand, but Whirlpool tubs in general. There are 1 million out there, and if there are 1 million jacuzzi tubs, I think 9,900,000. 99% of the jacuzzi tubs or Whirlpool tubs out there just don't get used. People think they want one, they're a novelty, and they use them for a few weeks, and then they just sit there and they don't get used. But usually, they'll start right back up. Not always, I guess. Let's see here. Golly, hey, Chris, I have run out of time here. If you will stay on the line after the show, I'll talk to you off the air. How's that? Anyway, you're listening to the Home Improvement Hour with Dick Ray, the Master Plumber, and we hope that you enjoyed the show. Hope you learned something. Maybe we entertained you a little bit with the story about the plumber that went to the Kansas City Performing Arts Center. I tell you what, it's a neat place, Kansas City should be proud of having that and of having the Kaufman Foundation support the arts and build neat stuff like that for us here in Kansas City. Anyway, we will be back next Sunday and every Sunday from 11 to noon. We hope you enjoyed the show, and if so, listen to us next Sunday. If you got something that comes up that won't wait till next Sunday, you call that number that I gave out before, and I'll try and help you out. And again, the number is 913-888-0550. And, of course, you can call the number if you just want to hire me to do something at your house, too. 913-888-0550. Enjoy this nice, unseasonable weather.
This is Kansas City's news, traffic, and weather station,